You wrote a story about how it seems to have caused a stir, particularly by what was left out of it. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, this was a bit of an awkward one this week. So there was a very interesting ITV documentary on Sunday looking at the origins of the rift between William and Harry. And as part of that documentary, the Sussex's biographer, Omid Scobie, gave an interview in which he said that he'd been told at the time of Harry's 2019 interview with Tom Bradby, in which he memorably confirmed his rift with his brother for the first time, and Meghan, you might remember, complained that no one had been asking if she was okay. He said that as a result of that, members of the Kensington Palace household, possibly on the instructions of Prince William, had briefed newspapers to say he was concerned about his brother's mental health. Now, the reason why Kensington Palace knew about this is because the documentary was sent out to the media to be reviewed, but this wasn't the final cut. And obviously when Kensington Palace found out about it, they were not happy at all and made representations through their lawyers to ITV, and the segment was actually duly cut. And my understanding is, although at the time people were quite openly saying, yes, William was very upset seeing his brother like that and was worried about him because his brother seemed to be, so upset and so unhappy. But that's very different from briefing the media about concerns about his mental health. And of course, don't forget, William, as well as Kate and Harry, have campaigned really publicly in recent years on the issue of mental health. They've tried to get a better national conversation about the issue. So I think it really crossed a line in the sand for him at this suggestion that he or anyone working for him would even dream of briefing the media about his brother's apparent mental health issues.
Rebecca, do you think this is another sign that William is keen to correct what he sees as untruths?
Yes, I think we shouldn't overthink it. I don't think we're going to be seeing, William complaining about every article or every television programme. But I think what is clear about it, that there is a line in the sand for him. And as I say, the suggestion that he had briefed about his brother and mental health issues was just a step too far for him.
Thank you, Rebecca. More from her in just a moment. Sticking with that documentary, let's turn now to my expert panel. This week, I'm joined by the Mail on Sunday's diary editor, Charlotte Griffiths, and her Daily Mail counterpart, Richard Eden. Richard, what did you make of this last-minute change to the documentary?
It was very significant because no programme makers like making changes, particularly not at the last minute, and this was forced upon them because, let's be frank about what's happened here. It was Harry and Meghan's real sort of stormtrooper, Omid Scobie. He's the cheerleader who seems to be coming up with increasingly strident and, I would say, provocative comments. And he made a claim which he didn't have any evidence to back up. The claim he made was that Prince William had allowed his staff at Kensington Palace to brief newspapers negative slurs about Prince Harry's mental health. And William complained about this when he got wind that this allegation was made in this programme, and made the point that, Omid Scobie had no evidence to back this up. So ITV could do nothing else but withdraw it. And that was a big change because journalists had already given a preview copy of the programme. And that was what they'd seen.
It's fascinating, really, Charlotte. It seems to me that most people connected with this story seem to think that the main blame for the fallout between the brothers is the brothers themselves. Is that fair?
Yeah, a new picture is emerging in which it seems that William is much tougher in this situation than we previously thought. At first, all the blame was on Meghan, who was characterised as tungsten, and, hard metal. But now I think actually that title belongs to William. He's very, very firm, and he was much tougher behind the scenes than I think we gave him credit for. And he was not taking any nonsense from very early on, I think, it seems.
Well, the timings of the bullying allegations are of interest, aren't they? This is like one person says that William cared more about the monarchy than his own brother, which would seem to back up what you're saying. He's, really coming across as quite nails. What do you think?
I think it's quite offensive, really. When they talk about the institution, I don't think Prince William's got this sort of cold attachment to an institution. these allegations were about were his staff. These were people that they treat almost as family, who work for them and were working also for Harry and Meghan. And they were accusing Meghan of bullying. And so he took this extremely seriously. And I don't think his response wasn't about, defending the monarchy. It was about defending himself and his staff. So I think he took these allegations very seriously from the start.
You look like you're about to say something, Charlotte.
Well, it's just that actually I think your point was right, because I remember in the early years, it was Harry and William together, brothers, and it was them against the institution and their future, which they sort of railed against for years. And what you're seeing now is William separating and becoming part of the institution, and Harry sort of being left on his own. And they had this sort of unwritten pact that it was them going, oh, God, it's annoying how we're going to have to do all these walkabouts for the rest of our lives. Well, yeah, and now William's on the other team.
But it's interesting the timing of these bullying allegations being released, just prior to the Oprah Winfrey interview. That would indicate to a lot of people that William was really escalating this drama and this feud rather than trying to smooth it over.
Well, maybe William had felt that the smoothing over hadn't been working for quite a long time at that point, and decisive action was needed. Maybe he thought, I'm going to play them at their own game. But the smoothing over that the Queen had been doing very diligently from the moment Meghan came on the scene just wasn't paying off at all. So maybe he thought he'd try a different tack.
Well, I think they knew there was likely to be very strong claims made in the Oprah interview. They knew what was coming. And so they did feel that they needed to present another side before the world was presented with the Oprah sort of glossy version. And that was all there. It was the claims from staff, and all the Times was given is they were given, emails and the claims that Kensington Palace staff had to deal with.
But if they knew prior to the Oprah interview what was coming, but they weren't briefed by anybody, were they? So there's obviously some genuine things some genuine truths they might have been afraid of coming out. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think there were a lot of people who wanted to make their points. The people involved that had to deal with the bullying allegations felt very strongly about it, and that they'd been desperate for ages. And I think when they heard that Meghan was going to be giving this interview, presenting herself as the victim and everything, that they were, no, we want to get in there another side to this story.
But it only worked for 24 hours, because we did talk about it for a day, and we are talking about it now, but when Oprah came out, nobody cared about the bullying allegations for a good couple of weeks, because the incendiary things that Meghan and Harry had said were just dwarfed the bullying allegations for a time.
What is happening with that? Because, it does seem to have gone very quiet. There's no further news on what's going on with that investigation.
I mean, the Palace really doesn't want to give a sort of running commentary on it. They've made clear.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
They've got us all interested now.
But it's emerged that it's still very much underway, this investigation. And I think that was noted in the recent accounts that were published, the annual report. But I do hope that we sort of hear more about it and what the outcome is. I don't think it would be fair to anyone, really, to just, have these allegations out there with no sort of resolution.
Waft away.
Yeah. No, I hope we do hear more about it.
It's interesting, in that documentary, Penny Junor, friend of the show and royal commentator, said that it's ridiculous to think of William and Harry as celebrities. They're the royal family, but that just seems less and less the case, doesn't it? I think that maybe the Sussexes' move to America has made them more celebrity culture than royal culture. Do you think that's true?
Definitely true of Meghan and Harry. They're celebrities now, but the royal rule has always been we're not celebrities. And I think William and Kate are looking more and more mundane, almost on purpose. She was out the other day wearing a Zara jacket, and they're still doing their walkabouts in sort of normal places in England. I think they're actually firming up their position as the monarchy, not celebrities, and they're trying to do that on purpose.
I mean, there's no question that Harry and Meghan now have joined the ranks of sort of global celebrities, but I think that does keep them separate from the royal family. We saw it when there was that charity concert in LA that they attended, and they were literally just sort of listed on the billing as, after the pop stars, and here's Harry and Meghan.
That feels like 50 years ago now. This year, yeah.
But they behave like celebrities, Meghan and Harry. They're
Yeah.
really flashy. And even when Harry came over to London the other day, he went back by this private service called, I think it's called the Private Service. It wasn't a private jet, but it's a really smart car that gets him off the back of the plane. And it's, you know, he's living like a celebrity.
That's all we have for you on our YouTube show. But to see the rest of this episode, including some more fascinating royal revelations, head to www.mailplus.co.uk/royals or click the link on screen now.